whispers on the block say that Isaiah Chance Jr., one of the guys who took out Foolio, is snitching to the cops, and it's not just about the Fio case. He's dropping info that could tie Foolio to the Jaydayoungan. He was interviewed recently by 12, and this was just the start of their conversation. What do you know about Foolio? Let's start from there. Now, this whole idea that Isaiah would know something that these people don't sounds wild at first, but here's the thing: Fio and Jaydayoungan had serious beef, and Foolio was one of the loudest voices mocking Jay after he passed that had people wondering if he played a bigger role than just being an online instigator. We know that Isaiah is talking, and if he has any details that link Fio to Jay's death, this could blow the case wide open. But why do it though? Well, Isaiah might be trying to cut a deal or protect himself. This guy got arrested and he might be facing a life sentence. If he's convicted, he's probably ready to say just about anything to make his situation look less bad, so throwing Fio under the bus makes sense, especially in connection to a different body. It would be a major move for Isaiah, and we've seen it happen time and time again with rappers. Think of King Von, who got so many bodies to his name even though he's gone. Von was publicly accused after his death of being involved in the 2012 hit on model McCry. In 2021, Chicago police released documents naming Von as the shooter in the case, even though he had already died in 2020. Now, as for Isaiah, it's still unconfirmed, but in these types of cases, once someone starts talking, things unravel fast, and Fio could technically catch another body even though he's gone. But was Foolio really responsible for that hit though, and is there something that Isaiah Chance Jr. can actually pin on his name? Let's look into the wild beef that Julio and Jay had going on, and if Julio had something to do with Jay's passing. So if we look at the whole situation between Julio and Jaydayoungan, it really goes deeper than just a few disses. It was all tied up in that messy Jacksonville beef between ATK and KDA. Even though Jay wasn't from Florida, he got caught in the middle just by association. It all started when Jaydayoungan was tight with Young G's Fio's main op. The connection alone made Jay a target in Fio's eyes. Fio felt like Jay picked a side, and that side wasn't his. Things got hot when Jay started throwing shots on social media and in his music, even dissing some of Fio's dead homies. That's when Foolio snapped. He said Jay had no reason to be in the mix, and since Jay came at him first, Fio felt it was fair game to go at him. Fast forward to July 2022, and Jaydayoungan is no longer with us. Jay was shot dead, and Julio Foolio was the first person who came to mind as the culprit. What happened to Jaydayoungan still remains one of the biggest mysteries in the hip-hop game, so here's how it went down. Jay was gunned down right outside his own crib in Bogalusa, Louisiana when he was only 24. He was chilling on the front lawn with his dad when things got real. Three dudes hopped out a black truck parked nearby and started walking up on them. Jay and his pops tried to run inside, but two more gunmen popped out the side like it was a whole setup. They let off shots, and Jay's dad fired back trying to defend himself. In the shootout, Jaydayoungan got hit at least 8 times. He got rushed to the hospital, but in the end he didn't make it. His dad took a couple shots in the arm and survived. And here's the crazy part: it's 2025 and still nobody's been arrested. No names and no charges. Cops think it was a targeted hit, but no real answers yet. It could be the case that Chance Jr. knows something that we don't. Jay had already been through a lot before this. He just gotten out from a gun charge, and the streets were already watching him heavy. To make it even sadder, this happened just weeks after he and his girl lost their newborn. The whole thing hit different. Some think Jay's ties to that Florida beef might have played a role in what happened, but there's never been any proof that Fio or anyone from KTA was directly involved. Still, that ATK versus KDA war ain't slowed down. The body count has stacked up, and the tension is still real heavy in the southern rap scene. Jay's situation just added another layer to a feud that was already spiraling, and it wouldn't be long before Foolio's name would be added to the list of people that this gang war took away. Let's see how Julio met his end and what role Isaiah Chance Jr. played exactly in the nasty setup, because this story is one that you will never forget. Julio was gunned down right after his own birthday party, which itself is insane, but once you hear the full play-by-play of what went down, it might just be one of the craziest hits we've ever seen. 2 years after Jay's death, around June 2024, Fio turns 28 and decides to throw a birthday bash down in Tampa, Florida, just a few hours from his hometown Jacksonville. For some reason, Fio started posting his party location all over Instagram. He told fans to hit his DMs for the address to Fio threw a pool party at an Airbnb, but the crowd got too wild and police came through and shut it down, so he and his crew decided to slide to another spot to keep the party going. But what they didn't know is that the ops were already on the move. This is where Isaiah Chance comes into play. Isaiah and his girl Alicia were following Fio that whole night. Cops say they tracked him to not just one but two different spots, and each time Isaiah was on the phone dialing up the hitters, giving them the drop. Later that night, Julio and his squad pulled up at a hotel to wind things down. The ops followed but kept it low-key, parking across the street to avoid being seen. Then Isaiah and Alicia did a quick drive through the lot just to confirm Foolio was really there. Right after that, three shooters jumped out another whip and ran down on Foolio's car. No warning, no chance to react. They lit the whole car up. Everyone inside got hit, but Fio was the only one who didn't make it out alive. The next day the internet started buzzing with rumors. Folks were saying the shooters might have slid in all the way from Jacksonville just to catch Fio slipping in from the jump. Cops believed it was a targeted hit. Just hours after the news hit, Young Ace started dropping diss track after diss track. Do It was released literally the same day Fio died, and days later Race dropped another track, Game Over. But it wasn't just him. Spin Benz and Wade Chapoa jumped in too, dropping a track straight up called Fio Dead. That's the thing with this whole Jacksonville beef, it's deep and twisted. A lot of these guys used to be cool back in the day. Maybe that's why Ian said that he shed a tear once he found out about Julio's death, even though that's quite hard to believe. But once the streets got involved, it was up. Friends turned enemies and bodies started dropping on both sides. Now it wasn't long until this case would get some leads. It was a big hit, and in front of a holiday in which was under heavy surveillance. There was a lot of material to work with if you're the feds. Just 3 days after Foolio got hit, Jacksonville police randomly pulled over an SUV for speeding. Little did they know they just stumbled on a major break in the Fio case. Driving that SUV was a kid named Shagathite, just 18 years old, from Oxford, Mississippi, and that's where the plot thickens. Police say Sean was one of the three shooters who took Fio out in Tampa. At first they didn't even realize he was involved. They only pulled him over for speeding, but once they searched the car they found a gun, shrooms, and some ammo. Even then they hadn't connected him to Fio's. That is until he started talking. The day after Sean's arrest, cops hit Isaiah and his girlfriend Alicia with warrants. They rolled up on their house, deep assault rifles out surrounding the spot. Isaiah and Alicia surrendered after about 20 minutes. They both got charged with first degree with a firearm and conspiracy to commit it. Cops say Isaiah and Alicia weren't the ones who pulled the trigger, but they tracked Foolio's every move the day he died and dropped his location to Sean and his two cousins, both of whom had serious beef with Foolio in 6 Block. After Isaiah and Alicia were taken in, the police went looking for the other two shooters, Devon and Rashad Murphy, cousins from Jacksonville, who rep 00. Isaiah was part of ATK, same crew Jaydayoungan Aces with, and ATK is clicked up heavy with 1,200 now. Fio was already an enemy to Devon and Rashad because of those gang ties, and here's where you should know that the hit on Fio goes way deeper than most people thought. He beef got personal with one shooting that changed everything. We have to mention Kenny K, who was close to Fio, and see where this really started. So in 2018, a 6 Block member named Kenny K gunned down a 1,200 affiliate named Spaz at a high school football game. Rumor is Spaz tried to press Kenny and his boy Lil B, and Kenny opened fire, hitting Spaz and 2 others in front of a huge crowd. Spaz died on the scene. Kenny K got hit with a secondary charge but ended up pleading guilty to manslaughter after witnesses refused to testify. He came home 5 years later and Fio took him under his wing. They were tight. Kenny even pulled up with Foolio to a no-jumper interview. Fio and 6 Block didn't just move on from Spaz's death, they kept dissing him non-stop. Then it hit another level when someone posted a video of themselves on Spaz's grave. Nobody knows who actually did it, but word on the street was that it was Fio. Spaz was a huge loss for 1,200, and especially for Rashad and Devon. Reports say Spaz was Rashad's little brother and Devon's cousin, so when Foolio got killed a lot of folks thought Young Ace might have put a hit on it, but Rashad and Devon already had their own reasons. As for Isaiah Chance Jr., he had a personal motive too. He used to be close with Ace's brother 23. Back in 2018, Ace 23 and 2 others got ambushed in traffic. Ace was the only one who survived. Ever since, Foolio and 6 Block kept dissing 23, especially on Fio's track When I See You Now. Isaiah, Rashad and Dave Murphy all had their own reasons to want Foolio gone, but what really had folks scratching their heads was Sean Gathrights' involvement. Dude's from Mississippi, not Jacksonville like the rest, so rumors started swirling swirling that maybe he was just a paid shooter, not actually part of the beef. But here's the twist: when cops bagged Sean, they searched his car and crib and found shell casings that tied him to a different shootout, one where Foolio almost lost his life. That incident went down in October 2023. Foolio was just trying to grab a vape at a gas station, then boom, the ops had his location and lit the place up. He survived, but he later told CTV he heard there was a bounty on his head, like $50,000 to $100,000. Foolio had already dodged a few attempts on his life before this, and fans started thinking something wasn't right. How do his ops always get the drop on him? That's when the backdoor talk kicked up. Folks started saying one of Foolio's own people was leaking info. Shortly after Julio died, the internet started pointing fingers at this dude named Mizzle as the guy who might be talking behind Julio's back. He used to be around Foolio and Ace's people, so the backdoor rumors made sense on paper, but real ones say Mizzle was neutral, didn't bang with any set, and he actually got shot with Foolio. They even grew up together. Still, when the paperwork dropped, it looked like somebody close to Foolio was dropping his location. It came out that Sean Gathright was texting a woman asking her to hit up a guy who was chilling with Foolio right before the hit went down. As soon as Isaiah and Alicia started following Foolio's moves on X, Sean went ghost from texting. That made it looked like Isaiah and Alicia were helping set Foolio up. Cops say these two pulled up to Tampa the day before the shooting while Sean shot Davey and followed behind in another car. Police traced their license plates and saw they dipped out of Jacksonville right when Foolio started posting about his birthday bash. After the hit, one car dipped back to Jacksonville, the other slid to Polk County. Cops tracked the cars back to Sean's mom and a woman who lived with Rashad Murphy's brother, and even though Gathwright's exact role is still kind of murky, police say he pulled the trigger twice on Foolio. Afterwards, Sean hid his whip at a family member's crib, then Dave and Murphy drove him back to Jax. After all that, cops say Rashad, Isaiah and Alicia caught an Uber all the way back to Jacksonville like it was just another night. But it wasn't just another night, and every day since their lives have got only worse. All of these 5 suspects that connected to Julio's murder are behind bars with no chance of getting out on bond. They're all in pre-trial detention waiting to face first-degree charges. 3 of them, Sean, Isaiah and Rashad, are scheduled to go to trial in April 2026. Alicia has her trial set for August 2025 unless it gets delayed. The last one caught, Dave Murphy, is also facing extra charges, including several counts of attempted. Right now their lives revolve around being locked up and preparing for high-profile trials. None of them will be released before their court dates. Prosecutors have already said they're going after the death penalty for Sean, Isaiah and Rashad Murphy. That means even if they don't get the death sentence, they're still looking at automatic life in prison if convicted. Alicia isn't facing the death penalty, but since she's still charged with first degree, she also faces a mandatory life sentence if found guilty. Considering the gang ties, the pre-planned nature of the shooting, and how vocal prosecutors have been, the chances of all 4 being sentenced to life are extremely high if they're convicted. As of this moment, we don't have much solid proof that any of these suspects have flipped or snitched on one another, but let's be real, there are some signs that suggest law enforcement is definitely trying to make that happen. Each suspect has their own defense attorney, and that usually means everyone's looking out for themselves, which opens the door for someone to strike a deal and start talking to save their own neck. Prosecutors almost always try to get co-defendants to turn on each other, especially in major cases like this when folks are facing death row or life behind bars. That pressure gets real intense, and with the death penalty on the table for some of them, the stakes couldn't be higher. That kind of heat can push people to cooperate in exchange for a lighter sentence. Some are hinting that Alicia might have said something, but so far it's all just speculation. There's been no official word, no leaked paperwork, nothing to confirm anyone actually turned state's witness. But knowing what we do about Isaiah, a lot of people got their money on him as the next one in line to start talking and giving out information on the Jaydayoungan case. If he wasn't involved in that hit himself, at least it is possible that he knows something more about the people who did, given that the case has gone cold for some time now. As for the Julio case, the cops are working overtime to get these suspects to flip, and the setup of this case makes that a real possibility. Music.